All right, so it has been a couple weeks since we shared the tech stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with just kind of the 7 bullet points or the takeaways that I had to refresh our memory. And and I'll run through them quick, and then I promise it'll be quick. Just reiterating the fact that kind of broken down by the areas that I went through a couple weeks ago: student devices, and kind of committing, while I don't call it one-to-one here because our K2 isn't necessarily take home at this point, but committing to providing a device for each of our students. And then number 2, classroom technology, projectors, smart boards, desktop computers, etc. will need to be a focus in the near future to continue to support teaching and learning. If you remember, some of that technology is getting up there in age. Number 3, staff devices continue to be on a 4-year refresh cycle. We're in a good place now, and we'll just continue that trend. Number 4, opportunities exist for reimagining the physical space of computer labs, and if and when that decision is made, what obviously we've got some older desktops. We were talking about 2007 being a year and 2011 being the purchases of those desktops. So just some opportunities there. Ongoing infrastructure, network, and bandwidth updates that continue to happen even in the most recently within the last 2 weeks, and we continue to make some upgrades and improvements in there, and we'll continue to do that. Cybersecurity, safety, and student privacy can continue to be a focus, as we've talked about, keeping our students physically safe, but also keeping data safe. And then that last item was just, again, that focus that we will continue to have technology integrated into instruction and supporting all other essential areas of the district. So those were kind of the 7 main areas from a couple weeks ago. And I think that I'll take a moment, and so now we all have this link to the SWOT document. I can keep presenting if that makes it easier for us to kind of see and talk, but we'll talk through, I don't know, any questions overall on where we're going with these 4 areas of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Should we just dive into one of them and see where it takes us? Let's do it.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Chris.
Do we have maybe one person just to sort of consolidate note-taking and whatnot? Might be helpful just to have one document. Or Chris, are you going to be that person?
I am glad that you brought that up because I was going to be, but I would much prefer it be somebody else if we have another volunteer.
I'm not personally going to volunteer because I know that's not one of my strengths.
I can if you share it with me, Chris.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I throw the link in the chat?
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Okay, I got it.
All right. Anyone want to start firing off some strengths?
I think from a parent perspective, one strength is access. I mean, both of my kids were given, Chromebooks, and I mean, not necessarily access to, they kind of had to teach themselves how to utilize it. So maybe that could go down as a weakness, is maybe one point of contact would be helpful for any Chromebook issues or kind of learning curves with that type of stuff. But I would definitely say that they have each been provided with the technology that they need.
Along those lines, I think we've had about 1 calendar year since we've been in the pandemic, but I feel like our kids and our staff have grown light years in their ability to use technology.
Absolutely. And it seems like have sort of dialed in the format, I mean, I think initially there was kind of a combination of Zoom and Google Meets or whatnot, but I think like just dialing into one sort of access point with Google Meet seems to have been both, helpful and successful. One platform, I should say.
I think opportunities is like Chris said, smart boards and stuff are kind of outdated. And we have classrooms without them at school. So it's very hard in this hybrid thing because some of our classrooms you can't show students in the back of you and on Google Meets in the same time. So the kids in the classroom have to be in the Google Meets, but then things are echoing for them. So I don't know, just updated technology and making sure all teachers have the same access.
Yeah, and making sure like the tools are sort of complementary.
As a teacher, it's really nice to have the new, iPad or, whatever we have, computers. And a big shout out to the staff at Frederick who are running around helping everybody, your staff, Chris, that just have gone out of their way. The minute you email them or text them, they're in your room in a second, trying to, help solve whatever issues are going on at the time. They've really done a nice job at that, especially for me, because I'm the most tech illiterate person that is on the face of this earth. And so they've just been great about, being there to help the teachers and the kids.
Under opportunity, I think we get an opportunity to rethink computer labs and some of our old way of thinking when it came to using technology with students now that they are one-to-one. So we can look at things like maker spaces and other uses for computer labs and desktops, things like that.
Kind of to piggyback on that, I would like to see more universal design by learning since incorporated into classrooms, because you don't need tech for that, but technology certainly helps with that.
What do you mean by that?
Universal design by learning. So it's tying in many things, presenting materials in different ways. So not just reading a text, being able to watch videos and stuff on,
that's good, yeah.
On whatever topic, students being able to show their learning in different ways. So maybe you have a student who can't spell very well, but they can use speech to text to get all their ideas out. So just different ways to reach I'm a special ed teacher, but it goes beyond special ed students, every student.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of us, when we text, do we use the word prediction? That's a universal design that anyone can use.
Absolutely.
So since we have all this tech now, I would love to see more training in that and to help all students. And maybe to piggyback on Lisa, your thing was just how you said you were technology not savvy. So maybe just more training for teachers.
Definitely. And it would be helpful from a parent perspective also to have maybe even like a tech corner or something, some sort of access point, because with all the issues that we've had to go through the teacher, and the teacher directs us to like a form, and then the form directs us to a person, and the person sends out, some advice. And so it's just like instead of having sort of one spot, like a technology corner on the website or something like that, where I can go and reference, helpful tips and tricks or something like that. Just from a parent perspective, it would be helpful so that I'm not leaning on 4 different people to get me to a possible solution, to have sort of solutions a little bit more accessible.
I think also that I was making a connection. I'm a teacher, but I'm also a parent in the community. And I have one in high school, but I have 2 students, one at Frederick and one at GMS. And one of the coolest thing in all of this was my daughter in the beginning of the school year at GMS had technical problems with her her Chromebook. It wasn't working. We have other devices in our house, so she just used something else. And I was in my basement classroom, which I'm in right now, teaching. And my daughter sent me a text saying my Chromebook went out. And I said, okay, I'm in a Google Meet. I'll help you later. And she said, don't worry, Mom. I already put in a tech help ticket for it.
Oh, so the students know at least.
Yeah,
Like,
so whatever. I don't know if that's coming from GMS, poor teachers, links, whatever. She knew exactly what to do, and whoever responded to her sent her directions to troubleshoot, step-by-step directions. She did it and fixed the problem on her own. So I think
an older student doing that. I think with the younger one, it's a little bit more cumbersome.
yeah, but I think even like teaching, I work with fourth graders. I mean, some of my fourth graders could probably easily log into a system and say, hey, I'm having problems with this. So maybe like teaching our students to advocate for those needs.
Absolutely. That's how it's done in the corporate world. I mean, anytime I have any tech issues, I submit a quick ticket, and usually within an hour, someone's on it. So
Another opportunity for technology, once we're not reliant on it to do everything we're doing in a classroom, we can start to think about using it differently, maybe offering different opportunities for kids, whether it be through clubs or academic support or better differentiation when it comes to cross-building, cross-district groups.
Or even cross-community. I think that's part of, like, even in the vision statement, one of the things was connect globally and excel universally. And I think technology gives all of us sort of an amazing way to connect across the entire world. So it might be a fun way to kind of even, have the schools have pen pals in different parts of the world or something like that.
I agree. In that vision statement, the line "expand learning beyond our walls." I've often talked about in the pre-pandemic. I enjoyed using technology to bring in outside presenters that we in the Midwest would never hear from marine biologists in Florida without the use of technology. And we've proven over the last year now how second nature this whole Google Meet thing is, and how much easier that'll be going forward. That there can be some great opportunities to do exactly what that line says: expand learning beyond our walls. It's not just what's going on in our classroom that we have access to now.
Yeah, and I really feel like technology is going to play an integral role in the method for creating those connections.
I think I'm going to add another strength. Go Guardian.
Yeah.
It is the only way that we have any idea what's going on the other side of the screen for our remote learners. So that resource has been awesome for keeping kids on task, checking in on their work live, calling kids who are struggling or having meltdowns and talking to them one-on-one. That has been the best resource as a teacher.
Yeah, and even being able to see what they're working on while they're doing it and just pulling it up and then walking them through it verbally, and being able to help them that way. I would say just for weaknesses, and I know some of this you guys are trying to work out, but in the classroom, just so many issues with the kids. Like the minute somebody tries to talk to you, they're in the room and you're there. And I do have the headphones, but then the whole meet and the whole room is like reverberating with feedback. And, just trying to figure some of those pieces out. I think that's a big one. Just it makes it hard sometimes because then, they get frustrated and they're trying to tell me something and it's like killing our ears and so just figuring something out to make that better would be
Yeah.
ideal.
We dealt with
And
that with a little pod that my youngest was a part of. We had a little pod learning happening last semester. I mean, the only pro tip that I have for you, Miss Boxer, is make sure everyone's headphones are plugged in at all times.
Oh, I know. Well, I have a kid who undoes it a little bit on purpose, just
And
to
then
make
it
it
just-
happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop.
I know, like, plug it in.
I think a weakness is diversity and technology amongst staff. I mean, it's almost like in a classroom, you have very high level learners and then struggling learners. We have that as staff. We have some that like really know the tech and are navigating and are diving in, and then some that are struggling, and then some that are kind of in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, even from in the corporate world, like I transitioned positions a couple of years ago, and I put myself through sort of boot camps where I just focused on one system for like a week straight, just to understand technology in the scope of what I was working on. Not that I would want to ask you guys to do more, because you guys do so much from a teacher's perspective, but it sounds like maybe little boot camps like that would be helpful with your platforms.
Yeah, and they're pretty good about that. I mean, we do have a ton of, when we have those half days and everything, we do have boot camps per se, and they usually do a nice job. But sometimes it's like overload, and then when I'm done, I'm like, okay, I don't remember a single thing.
Exactly, and then it takes repetition in your brain for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely about repetition. But I have to say, during this whole thing, I have come a long way. I actually have even taught other people how to do stuff. So that's huge for me.
Awesome. That's great. I know. I think we've all come a long way in this pandemic world.
So, Chris, a possible threat, as I was thinking about the example they used, it's impossible to plan for new technology. And there's so many new things that being discerning and choosing what's best, I think, is difficult or impossible to plan for. So it's hard to make a 5-year plan when there's 4 years of technology that we can't fathom, maybe.
That's a good one, Vince. I agree, right? We just talk about our cell phone that we use, it's not student related at the moment, but talk about our cell phone. Our cell phone's outdated the 2 months after we get it, and that's if we got it on day one kind of deal. So yeah, that's certainly the case for devices. I wanted to throw out another threat, that cybersecurity and student safety, and that whole area. Our staff will be hearing about next week about a new state law that is called SOPA. It's the Student Online Privacy Protection Act, that while it is going to help ensure safety for all of our students, there's going to be some potential limitations that causes on some of the tools that we can use as a district, simply in an effort to keep our students safe and make sure that we are protecting where our student data goes. So that's going to be something that will take, and already has taken, hours upon hours of work on the district side of things. But in addition to hopefully not limiting, but potentially limiting some of the tools that we might be using right now. So I'll add that while it's a threat, I guess it's also an opportunity to continue to keep our students safe. But
yeah.
I think related to what Vince said, one thing that I always get scared of when I look at new technology is when schools don't plan for obsolescence. So they'll be really excited to buy 100 new smart boards, but have no plan to replace the bulbs in 5 years or update licensing. So just a threat might be, and I don't think you covered this in your presentation, but just making sure there's a balanced obsolescence plan in place for all technology. If you buy 500 Chromebooks this year, is there a balanced structure in place to replace those Chromebooks in 4 years when they're not supported anymore? So that might already exist. I know you're new, Chris, so I don't know if you've had a chance to fix that yet or not, but that's just something I worry about with school tech budgets.
And
Yeah, and how about budget in general and cost of new technology and upgrade? Is that a potential? I mean, I was kind of surprised that I didn't see sort of technology as part of the pie chart, or if it was grouped under a subcategory that I missed, or I didn't really notice it mentioned in the finance presentation.
She mentioned that it counts as a supply.
Gotcha. Okay.
I believe it's in the education fund, so it gets lumped in there with just about everything else.
Yeah.
But that is a good one. We've been very fortunate this year to have some additional grants from both the state and federal level that have helped us make
But those
some
are one-time things, right? That
yes, and
necessarily plan.
yeah. So some of the well, I highlighted in the presentation some of the big things that we've done over the last 6 months. Those, like you said, some of those are one-time grant purchases. We are with the student Chromebooks and the staff devices. Those are on a nice refresh cycle now that we're able to plan out. It's a consistent lease payment over the next 3 or 4 years, depending on what the device is. So that can be budgeted accordingly, and then we know at the end of those 3 years we will be continuing with some sort of device that the device will likely get better and faster and then increase in quality, but there will be some consistent payment to go along with that. But what, Peter, to your point, the classroom updates, the opportunities there are that will add into that same existing budget and those same financial commitments that already exist. I agree.
Another potential threat might be as we move into all in-person learning to lose the steam that we've gained in technology. So we've made great strides over the last year very quickly, but we don't want to forget how to use a Google Meet or forget how to use some of these resources that have become available to us.
That's fair.
Yeah, I would say to that point, Irina, finding a balance without going back to what we used to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, as much as many of us would love to not be on a video call or Google Meet ever again in our lives, the ease of collaboration that this tool provides for us is huge, and we know that. I think we know that we would love to be creating. Collaboration is a word that sticks out of my head. I'm going back up to our mission and vision to see if something along those lines is in there. But just that idea of collaborating and enabling our students to collaborate easily with one another.
That would fall under cultivating community or connecting globally, Chris. It's there. It's just, fancy speak.
I
think too, I don't know if this might be more of the communication world or not, but another threat is, just doing, and this will happen, I think, through the work with SOPA, but like making sure we aren't paying for redundant tools or redundant software just because one teacher likes some random thing that we're spending money on places where we can find efficiencies in spending might be an opportunity or a threat kind of as we're looking through some of those things. It doesn't seem to be a problem in Grays Lake. I know other school districts, like every teacher uses their own different way to like communicate with the children. But I don't know if there's a corollary to that in Grays Lake or not.
And you're right with the SOPA stuff. I think we'll take a closer look at it, but we try to strive for that kind of one direction and the consistency across grade levels, across buildings. So hopefully we're on a path that obviously that's an ongoing thing, but yeah.
I'm going to add that opportunity too, just to make sure we are keeping with one direction.
Yeah, it seems to have kind of settled down. I mean, at the beginning of the year, I know from a parent's perspective, it seemed like there were like 4 different platforms where Kinley was accessing sort of ebooks through and stuff. And now it's kind of, it's settled down, you know, like now she pretty much just goes to Epic for her books. And I mean, as long as it's, you know, a robust resource, then I would say stick to sort of one resource. I do have to say though, Chris, overall, you guys have done a great job adapting. I just have to put that little plug in there.
Thank you.
All of you educators have sort of blown my mind. So nice work from a parent perspective.
We appreciate that. It's been a wild ride for all of us
right?
on both sides of it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like running a marathon that never ends.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no end in sight.
Anything else, or should we move towards?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it covers most of my thoughts on the technology piece. I think anything else, all of my other thoughts were kind of pertaining to other subcommittees, but.
We'll probably have some time to reconvene next time to touch it up.
I would anticipate that, and if so, you should have. Well, you do. You've got the link to this document now, and if you think of something else between now and next time, and you'd like to add it and can't find the link, you can certainly email me, and I can get you the link, or I can add it specifically on one of these areas. I think. Gary has said a couple times, one more session, or maybe that second one that he keeps trying to sneak in there. So we'll see. But I think our group we will be together for the duration of that anyway. So we'll be able to, like Vince said, reconvene and see if we need to add anything else. But for now, I think I'm prepared to call it a night.
Can I just ask really fast? I think that Gary mentioned this sort of at the beginning before breaking out. Did you guys have any thoughts or feedback on the vision statement that was presented today? Is there anything that you guys think need to be?
I had one thought,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it's correct. In the slideshow they showed, there was not a comma between the word globally and, but in this document here there is. And so I'm very picky about that comma being there in the end of a list. That's how I was taught when I was in like 4th grade. I know it's sometimes controversial. The Oxford comma, as they call it, sometimes doesn't exist. So I already emailed Dr. Glickman about it.
Good.
And let her know that I believe very strongly there should be a comma after the word globally, as there is in this Google Doc, but in the slide they presented in the big meeting, there was not. And it caught my eye right away.
No, that's totally fair.
So that was my only concern. I thought the rest of it was fine.
I think Dr. Glickman said she was going to put out a Google form or something to let everybody weigh in on that.
It was a form then. I just emailed her because I was so upset. And so I make sure. But I did like, actually, I didn't catch it at first, but when they used the word universally at the end there, first I was just thinking it meant like everybody, but then I kind of liked that it went local, global, and like then universe, like all of existence.
We're going
and so I liked that. I don't know if it was intentional, but I enjoyed that wordplay, going like small, medium, and then like the biggest thing possible is the whole universe. So I enjoyed that wordplay.
Okay. Well, it's definitely still sort of a work in progress. So if you guys have any other, feedback or anything, like I said, I'm sure she'll send out the form for feedback and whatnot. But I think that it was just mentioned to touch base on it in the small groups if we had a couple minutes. So
I liked it. I thought I was talking before and I was muted. So it's been a really, really long night. Okay, so